Okay, so Kathy, I'd like to introduce to you Patrick Tinney. He is with Centroid Marketing and Training, and he's located just north of Peterborough in a little town called Lakefield or Buckhorn. He's kind of right in between. And Patrick has had a long career of dealing with multi-million-dollar media sales and negotiation solutions, and he's still very active in it. And he's an expert of business negotiations and techniques as well as trends. And he's a wealth of information, and he's one of Canada's most published authors on sales and business negotiation. So I know you're going to learn a lot today. And because I know every time I talk with Patrick, I always learn something new every time. So
Well,
anyways,
I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So we're going to be talking about his book called Perpetual Hunger. It's one of my favorite sales books, and I write in mine constantly. And there's lots of powerful information in here. What I like about how Patrick writes is it's simple, but it's straight to the point. And it's very easy to follow and understand and put into practice to build your own business. So Patrick, if I could let you go ahead and start. And
yeah, we'll have a little bit of fun today. There's a funny backstory to that book, by the way. I never intended to write any of my books. I just started to produce content to push my business brand, up into a new level. And I just started emailing stuff out to people, and then suddenly the phone would start to ring, and people would say, "Geez, you've really gone into a different area of sales negotiation that, quite frankly, a lot of other people wouldn't touch. And because you've done that, we now know that you identify with the real challenges that go on behind that." So I'll make a long story short and say that I got a call from a guy in Geneva, Switzerland, and he said, "Pat," he said, "I'm coming to Canada." He says, "I want to meet with a few Canadian business people, and you're one of the people I've targeted." So he delivered a speech over at Ryerson University, walked across the road, and we sat down, and I thought, we'll get 15 minutes. And we were at a restaurant called the Pickle Barrel and at Dundas and Young, and 3 hours later, he's pounding on the table saying, "You've got to write a second book." And it's because all of the corporations across the world are flattening out. And after COVID, it's going to be even worse. So there's going to be so many entrepreneurs in the world. It's going to be unbelievable. Everybody's going to be working from home for quite some time until we get back to the new normal. But prior to this, he just said, "Would you do it?" And I dedicated the book to him. His name is Tamer Hagazi, and he's the Global Minister of Entrepreneurship and Economic Development and Strategic Partnerships for the United Nations.
wow.
And he has offices all over the world, and he just sort of said, "Would you do it?" And I didn't agree, but anyway, long story short is that I did start in 2016, and in 7 weeks I finished the book.
Wow. And is that yes? I'm looking yes.
No, it's actually Perpetual Hunger. That's the one that I wrote.
Perpetual Hunger. Okay.
Yeah, I opened up my computer and I could see the whole thing. So it's kind of producing content for your business is really important. But I think today we wanted to talk a little bit about customer development and finding new customers. And one of the important lessons in my book is really to have an open conversation about who we are, who the customer is, how do we find them, how do we show that we have true value or meaning to them, and then how do we persuade them somehow to trust us enough to do business. And that's a really important narrative, because trust takes quite a while to build. But if you ask the right questions of the potential customer, and don't presume that you know them. It's really funny. I've attended a lot of sort of family business meetings, if you will, and participated in chamber conversations, other groups, and I'm always amazed at the people in the room that you meet. And we're creatures of habit, because Kathy, the minute that you come on the line, for instance, and look at me, you probably made about 50 decisions about me within about the first 10 seconds. And that's just the way we are as humans. We kind of look at each other and say, well, that guy with that crazy shirt probably is the following. And by the way, has he actually read all those books behind him? I doubt it. You know, we're just kind of, we're like that, right? And so the thing is, you know, when you engage new customers, one of the things I like to do is I really like to do a little bit of homework on them, if it's possible, because every business is different. So can you find something out about them so that when you have that first or second or third conversation that builds the relationship, you actually talk like your neighbors or your friends, so that if you start to pick up the phone, call around and look for new business, don't look at it as a cold call. Look at it as just a new conversation with a new friend. Otherwise, that the phone will become something that's very awkward for you and you won't enjoy. The other thing is know your product so well that you don't have to think in terms of a script. It's funny, one of the things that Sherry and I were talking about sort of before we started the session was, I've written so much content that I can't always remember it sequentially. And that's, I think it happens to other people that produce content. It's just what happens, right? And books are very structured. Although the way I structure my books is that I've written them for a Twitter world. They're all written at about a grade 11 level. And you're right, my talk is straightforward. It's like, you know, if you think back about how farming was done, you know, 150 years ago, you know, farmers would bump into each other out in the fields, you know, with their, you know, with their Clydesdales, dragging stuff, or they had the first machinery and they'd stop and they'd say, how's things going on your side? Well, feed mix isn't good this year and just not going to fatten these beef up fast enough. And the guy says, well, I'll tell you what, I know a little bit about that. Let's wait until the end of the day and I'll bring my boys over and my little girl, and we'll just have a little chat. By the way, if you got any extra little chores for them, make sure you got that, and you know, we'll sit down and have a glass of cold water or lemonade. Does your family make good lemonade? Yeah, my family makes good lemonade. Well, we'll do that. And that's the way sales should be. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be this really it shouldn't be this really bent out of shape construction. Now, when you get into corporate sales, it's a little bit different because as the money gets larger, the pressure gets larger. And you know, and I'm not saying that small business isn't a lot of pressure, because if you want to feel pressure, go into farming.
Yeah.
Go into farming where you cannot control the price of a pork belly.
No.
You can't control the price of a bale of hay.
No.
You can't control the weather.
You can't control whether even is hay.
Yeah. This has been a good hay year, by the way.
This year.
Yeah.
But there's been lots that haven't.
Yeah, no, this has been a good haying year. I would say that's some of the best hay I think I've seen. And you know, I don't know whether we'll get 3 cuts this year, but boy, that first cut was juicy. And
Yeah.
you know, it'll be pretty good. But you know, and I guess sort of on the second round, we're kind of looking at just sort of a discussion around you know, the attitude it takes to be successful in procuring new business. And one of the ways that I really believe that trust development happens is to talk to the other person about how they built their business, because there's a huge story there, and everybody's got a story. And you know, that person's story, that new customer's story, is really the foundation for how it is that you're going to build trust. Because if you listen intently to their story and then add on, you know, phrases like, wow, how did you do it? Did you see that coming? How did you get through that adversity? What was your resilience factor? How did you, you know, and I kind of refer to that as garbage language, but it really isn't. It's just one of these things where you you're incentivizing the other person to tell you more about their story. And you know, if you're going to get on the phone and talk to people, or even if you're going to have a lot of people come up to your farm or your business, whether it's an indoor business or an outdoor business, you're not going to close everybody. And that should be expected. And the other thing that should be expected is that you're going to lose business. That's just called churn. That's what happens, you know? It's like difficulties happen in business. People sometimes, you know, they have the right amount of money to pay, sometimes money's short. And, you know, when I was in business, believe it or not, I was one of the few guys that actually worked with the credit department because I was always trying to keep my customers healthy. And that's an important thing. Other businesses work differently. You know, it's like, you know, you're working with a lot of cash or you're working with e-transfers. Expect e-transfers to be the new way that you move money back and forth, because going to the bank over a period of time is going to be something that, you know, we may only have banking open a couple of days a week because it's not done that way anymore.
Well, that's what's happening in our neck of the woods. I think Kathy can relate with me with that. We have noticed that here with TD, they're only open short period of times and only 4 days a week now instead of 5.
And they don't open till like 11?
Yeah, 11 or noon or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange. And you think about, you know, I used to bank in Peterborough. I bank in Lakefield here now, but I was at Scotia in Peterborough, and you walk in there and there's like cavernous offices. And now you walk in there and there's like 3 people. So I think that, you know, that all of that, you know, that commercial space is just going to turn into condos somehow. And then who the heck wants to be in a condo anyway? Yeah, I was talking to a colleague of mine about his daughter going to Ryerson University this morning, and she's up on the 16th floor of a 60-floor building at sort of Yonge and Front Street. And he said, Pat, it took us 15 minutes to get down because you can only have 3 people in an elevator now.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Yeah, you could be in there for days trying to get down.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I think there was a new survey that came out this morning from KPMG, and they said that 54% of Canadians were afraid to go to work.
I believe that. And you know,
I do too.
And one of the other things I have noticed, I work with a lot of realtors, and I see a lot of their surveys, and they're seeing a lot of city folks buying. There's more city folks buying out in the country now, coming our way.
Yeah, because working remotely isn't odd.
That's right. And so, because their real estate sales are saying that, reports are saying it's not local people buying, it's all the city folks that are coming in from Toronto, London, Windsor, actually, in our area, and Ottawa, are all coming into our little towns here, Madoc and Marmora.
Yeah, you know, because you can buy stuff up at a really reasonable price, and you know, Amazon will deliver just about anywhere. You know, sometimes you get backups. You know, you get stuff stuck in Belleville. I think we talked about that a little while ago.
Yeah, you know, 5 parcels down there.
Yeah. What's your nightmare story? I got locked up in Belleville. I guess that's better than Kingston Pen. But yeah, you know, business is going to be different.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, in regards to attitude, and in regards to sales now, we have to change our whole focus because we're working from home. And so with that being said, we have a whole new way of doing business and prospecting. And I think that, and maybe I'm wrong in this, Patrick, but, or right, we have to start learning how to use the technology that we have in order to change and pivot the way we prospect now. And reach out.
And you know what? And don't be afraid to be wrong. Being wrong isn't wrong. It's just an iteration. I mean, when Thomas Edison built the light bulb, you know, it took him 5,000 tries, and people kept saying, aren't you just really frustrated about failing? He says, I'm not failing. He says, I'm just one iteration closer to success. And so,
learning.
Sure it is. And, you know, we'll all get better. I mean, I remember when I first started doing video, you know, some people have an innate understanding of what it is that good lighting looks like, what it is that, you know, good presentation of content, you know, clear enunciation of what it is you want to do, and clear message.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's stuff that you can work on, and that's stuff that you can actually go up online and you can learn. I mean, look what we're all doing here with Zoom right now. Welcome, John, by the way.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I didn't realize it's a very interactive session. I was thinking, oh, let me jump in, just take a look.
So
Yeah.
what's your business, John?
My business is IT infrastructure and the security.
Oh, good.
And my focus is really in the like a cybersecurity and the physical security space.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you, John.
Isn't that going to
Thank you,
be?
Sherry.
It's going to be key. I mean, cybersecurity right now. There was again another report out, and the number of websites that are being attacked right now is unprecedented, and it's ramping up. And so John, you just walked into the casino and you're winning. we just have to get you in touch with a few more people and get that going for you.
That's a problem, right? Like as you can say, I'm kind of like a shy person, and I'm trying to get myself into more better skills in terms of the sales and the marketing side. And recently, I have revamped our company's website, moresecure.com, and yeah, we're almost there, and to be more transformed into the digital space, and trying to go from there.
Yeah, you know what? So what I sort of refer to your style is an analytic style. It's a little quieter, but where business is concerned and real money is at play, it's not a bunch of yelling and all the rest of this stuff. No, it's about listening. It's about asking the person that can ask the best questions in the room. And by the way, here's an important thing about questions. Always rank your questions for your customers by dollar value.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. What if you only got 20 minutes with your customer because they're cramped for time, they're cramped for space, whatever it is? You have to be able to show value instantly.
Yeah.
And whether that's through testimonials, recommendations, having somebody recommend it to you is wonderful. And so those are the types of things you work on, and you work on those things on different media platforms. I'm a fan of LinkedIn, and I'm not a big Facebook guy. I've got a page up there, but Facebook for some businesses works.
Yes.
In my particular case, it doesn't work as well. And I've worked with a number of people. So my business, Centroid Training and Marketing, it started out as a marketing business, but what I soon learned was there was a big hole in the marketplace, and that was in the whole area of business and sales negotiation. Most people aren't good at it. They're just terrible, but they think they're great. And I've done 50 book signings for my books across the Chapters chain of bookstores. And I would ask people over and over and over again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you as a negotiator? And the median answer that would come back is somewhere between I'm a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. And I would go, wow, you're great. Congratulations. It sounds to me like you're winning about 65% of all negotiations you get involved in. And they kind of pause and they go, yeah, that sounds about right. I said, great. So how many negotiation strategies can you name? When do you use them for time compression? And how do you understand them for buyer and seller risk? Well, guess what the answer is? 1 or none. Occasionally, I would run into a unicorn and get 2. I can name about 25, and I know when they're used. most people don't know the difference between a strategy and a tactic. They don't know the difference, and that's where people get messed up. And that's that's why the whole work around call preparation, understanding when to accept a deal or an offer or an ongoing relationship, it's really important. And I always talk about it in terms of their objectives and our objectives. And by the way, the customer's objectives are way more important than ours. Ours really falls around things like profitability and a lack of customer churn. In other words, selling one of anything to one customer, unless it's a yacht, a mansion, a diamond tiara, is expensive because they have to go through your whole process. And that's why it's important to be able to have business that I refer to as generational. In the farm business and in other businesses, the agro business, we all get it because, the folks in the agricultural community have all been working together for long periods of time. And even newcomers that come in, they try to understand very quickly how to incorporate you into their world if you can show instant value. And that's what's going to happen. I would just sort of say as a sidebar with the issue of helping you remove blockers, I can have a side discussion with you about that later.
Oh yeah, very important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really is. And one last thing I think that's really important, and I think we all really have to get our heads around it, and that is the culture right now around the world is changing.
Yes.
For the first time in probably 200 years, we've actually come to grips with the whole idea that is we are us, not we are us and them. Mm-hmm. It's really important. And, I've had to go back through a whole evaluation of who I am. What I know is that I'm not a woman, and I would never understand how to be a woman. I also know that I'm not black or brown. I have no idea what that would be like. Same as I'm not a native First Nations people. I'm not Asian background. And so what we all have to do is work a lot harder at understanding how other cultures, which is our collective culture, thinks.
Especially in order to gain their trust so that you can do some business with them, to help them and to help yourself as a business owner. That is what I have.
Yeah, I think that those of us who have worked really hard in business, we've really worked hard to understand the other person's story. Mm-hmm.
Keyword there, folks, story. So on Tuesday, I talked about branding and the power of storytelling. So Patrick just wrapped this nicely up for me by saying the word story.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I could spend a whole day just talking about that. And actually, there's a section in my book, Perpetual Hunger, where I talk about how it is that you go about analyzing and building your story to bring closure to the other person's story. And once you start to mix your stories together, then it's one collective story. And that's really important. That's how you build. That's how you build rapport. I remember I had a guy call me. He just arrived from India, and he said, "Pat," he says, "I'm new to Canada," and he said, "I'm having a difficult time trying to understand how to start conversations." And I said, "I understand what that would be like. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to read every sports newspaper that you can lay your hands on. And every time you go into a call, have in the back of your mind whether this family has some athletic association. And if they do, you can bring that to the table as an automatic, sort of a soft opening." And right away he went, "Oh man, He said, why didn't I think of that? Well, I said, let me put it to you this way. If I was to visit India, would I have to bone up on cricket? He said, well, cricket is it. I said, not here. I said, so I'd have to learn really quickly what cricket means to, you know, the cricket mania that exists in India, the same as football, soccer in the UK.
Yeah, same here as hockey, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, hockey and, you know, in the old days, John, small town fastball, baseball on
Yes.
Friday nights. Holy smokes, was that important? I
Yeah.
mean, that was like the big night out, if you
Yeah,
can believe it.
and weekends too, because there would be the tournaments. And I can remember playing in the women's league in Lakefield
Wow.
basketball, and it was Friday nights and Saturdays and Sundays all the time.
Yep. Yeah. So all
Yeah,
those things
it's
are
a big culture difference actually. It's really like a lot of the time what happened to me is eye-opening, right? Like I arrived here 20 years ago in 2000, year 2000.
Mhm.
And I remember when I was like my like technically my English level in terms of reading and writing, those are not bad because we had the English study since like elementary school. So
Right.
that's where my background is. But when I came here, I still remember when I first time go to buy, you know, I want to write letter. At that time, there is no email yet, right? Not that
Oh
common.
yeah.
I need to write a letter back to my parents in China, right? My cultural background is I'm from China, Mainland. And I remember I was lining up to buy the stamp, and I feel like my hands is sweating. I'm so nervous to buy the stamp. And after that, I was very lucky. Like very quickly, I got a pretty decent job as in the security, because I was in the security field before I came here. And I got a security job, like a IT security job in one of the like the largest, right? Like the credit card company in Canada here. So as a security analyst. So they every day I take the bus, go to the office, and I start to, let's say, and I try to force myself, right? Try to speak like English more quicker and more fluently, right? So I still remember a small trick I did is I look at the cars just to go past the bus or whatever, right? And I try to memorize their plate number and try to pronounce it.
That's brilliant. You know, and it's having the courage to do it. So is your native tongue Mandarin, or do you speak Cantonese as well?
My native is Mandarin. I can understand Cantonese, but not able to speak that well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some friends locally here that are in the restaurant business, and they're trying to teach me Cantonese. So I walk in
Yeah,
every
it's
morning.
fun.
Hello, Joe-san.
Yeah, 早上, that's cool.
Joe-san. That's good morning.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know,
yeah, for sure.
so yeah, we're all kind of embracing each other. Do you guys have any questions that you wanted to ask? Because I think that's kind of it's one thing for me to sort of pontificate, but it's always kind of interesting to have one come out of left field.
Well,
I just want to say sorry to I joined this meeting like late, right? Like I booked I registered the meeting last night because I found it actually from my friend Joe's LinkedIn, right? He
yeah.
posted yesterday like couple of months ago, we had some joint like a webinar together talking about business transformation, talking about how to move the business online, right? For
Yep.
that series, I invited Joe over to my webinar to be a guest speaker, and it was quite good based on my audience. People really liked it, right? And
Yeah.
Joe had some good time there too. And but unfortunately, this morning when I wake up, I was very annoyed by receiving a whole bunch of messages. They are talking about the executive order from President Donald Trump, talking about they are going to ban,
Oh, TikTok.
forbidden,
Yeah.
forbidden the transaction. I don't know. I don't still understand what exactly that means.
You know what?
So I try to spend some time to understand what's the impact to us, right? Because I'm also the president for one of the nonprofit organization, which is like a school alumni association in Canada, right? So I was because our communication internally, based on the organization, because we have members across Canada, right? So it's based on the a WeChat as a
Oh, I see.
communication tool.
That's another one of the
Yeah,
ones.
so I was trying to figure out what's the impact can be to us. It's very vague at this time. A lot of people have very different opinion how that's gonna happen, and I hope just it didn't happen. It will not happen in Canada. That's why when I realized the time passed, I say, oh damn, I missed almost. Sorry for that.
No,
That's okay, John.
Because I really want to jump in for this webinar because I always look at myself. I need help from the marketing sales perspective, and I last time I talked to when I was talked to Joe, I say, hey, my strength is definitely in the technology side, and my boss, I used to work for Canada Post, right? So my boss there, he told me, because you guys know there's a TV show called Dragon's Den, right? Dragon's Den, and there's a guy called Robert Herjavec, and his background is also in the IT security, and we know each other a long time ago. And he used to come to Canada Post, right? Want to get some business there. I helped him to get into the conversation. So it's actually very funny. My boss said something to me, and I still remember that. That's back to 15 years ago. He said, "Hey, look at you. Your technical level is here. Their technical level is here. But look at the achievement. Their achievement is here. Yours right here." So I was like, "Oh, what's going on? How I can overcome that?"
John,
and unfortunately, it didn't happen yet. I'm still trying to figure out.
John,
I'm always trying to learn from the expert.
There's an old theory that if you put a grade 12 student next to an MBA, the grade 12 student will level up a lot faster than the MBA can go up to that next level.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And here's the I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts here, by the way, which I think are important. So John, you've been talking for a little bit about things you're trying to correct and blockages that you're trying to remove. Kathy, you're trying to get your venture off the ground and build a larger customer base, something that's more reliable. Sherry, you just want to continue to expand because you've already got, you've got yourself a business that's worked very well, and it's past that sort of the 3-year mark, which is the 3-year mark is always important for a new business.
And Patrick, I am coming up to 25 years.
Yeah.
Of me being in business, and it's just been incredible. I've been thinking about that. 25 years will be marked January 1st, 2021. And
Wow, that's amazing.
I
That's great.
I've been looking at the growth, but you know something? One thing I can say, and I'm sorry to interrupt, is sales training never gets old. I'm constantly looking to upgrade myself all the time because I like to teach sales training to other people as well, and I do a workshop on it. But Patrick, I'll let you continue on. Sorry, I just
No,
had.
no. I just think, focus on the things you're good at.
Yeah.
Because, you can spend a lifetime trying to improve your deficits. Now, some deficits should be addressed simply because it logically grows your business. But if your strengths are so overwhelmingly strong, it's kind of like the analogy. If you can throw a baseball at 105 miles an hour accurately, does it really matter if you're not the best catcher on the team? I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. It's so being really good at something. But I have to agree with you, Sherry, on constant growth. And I think a lot of people, what they do is they say, oh, you know what, I've taken a couple of courses or I've read a couple of books and I got it. Well, I'm going to share something with you that I think is really important. A book, now mine is an interactive book because I fill it with lessons. But a book is just a large opinion. It's pretty wordy, but the important thing is to keep looking at different angles on sales, different angles on negotiation. Think about how sales happen in your vertical. So one person's vertical may have a different flavor to it than the next kind of vertical. So, for instance, John, in the tech world, tech guys like to get around and sort of talk about the new cutting edge. In the farm world, it's like people are trying to figure out how can we be more efficient. How can we? I got a guy next door to me. He's farming David Norby's old farm. It's the Heffel family, and I have never seen more efficient corn growth in my life. And I've been around. I'm older than dirt, and I've never seen better production than that in my entire life. And I marvel at these guys. That's how good they are. And that's the difference between, in any business, being good or being superior. You see, because good will get you a living, but that's all it gets you. Superior allows you to live your business dreams, or in my case, my sales dreams. And I read 25 books a year, if you can believe it.
Wow.
And you say, well, Pat, you've been in this for 4 decades. That's right. But the opinions shift over time. Now, great content in many cases is timeless. It's just timeless. Like some books that you read, and it's one of the reasons that I don't rush material to market. I've got a new book that's coming out shortly, and I've been working on it for a while, and I'm not going to rush it, because what I want to do is I want to deliver the kind of content where people will go back and read it over and over and over again, just to kind of say, all right, I don't have Pat with me here right now. If he was in this situation, what would he do? What would he do? Yeah, and it's this is the I actually wrote this book. It took me 7 years to finish it. I wasn't happy enough with it, and I went back and rewrote it. I spent a year rewriting a book that was, I've probably got maybe 75-star reviews around the world on Amazon, and I went back and rewrote it. So producing quality anything, whatever it is you produce, make it so good that when people mention that category, they say, you must speak to Kathy, you must speak to John, you must speak to Sherry. And whatever it is that they're asking for their product, believe me, it's worth it. And I'll tell you why. Average to them is just not good enough. That's important. That's really important. And I'll tell you something else that's really important is problem resolution. So there's always going to be things in business that go wrong. That's just part of being in business. If business was perfect, everybody would be in business. And quite frankly, we'd all be retired by age 40 because we'd made so much money. But the truth is that markets go up, markets go down, markets change, styles and culture change. I got to tell you, 30 years ago, if you didn't understand fashion, you were lost. You looked like somebody who just crawled out from under a pile of logs. Now, these days, I have no idea what fashion is. Look at the way I'm dressed. I look like Uncle Buck. I look like I'm in the Bahamas or something like that. You know, but that's the casual nature of the way businesses change. To be perfectly honest with you, you know, when I worked in
ties and the dress, ladies'
Yeah.
dresses. Yep.
Oh yeah,
I have
like
full.
I got closets full of clothes. I just but you know who cares about that anymore? What we really care about these days is the person on the other side of the table, or hopefully sitting beside me at a round table, which is always more friendly. If I hand them $5,000 and I say, could you hang on to this for me for 2 years because I'm going to need it 2 years from now? Is that person going to show up with the $5,000?
I would.
I would.
Yeah.
You see, that's what builds a reputation for integrity. And it's what I call the show up factor. So, you know, when things go wrong, are you running and hiding in the hills? Or when things go wrong, are you on site trying to fix the problem before the customer even realizes it's a problem? And I hope it's the latter, because that's what gains you that reputation for being, wow, if you're not talking to this person right now with the kind of problem you have, you're missing out on an opportunity. Now, I'm a guy that never really finished university. I've got a whole bunch of credentials. You know, I graduated a whole bunch of different college level stuff and all the rest of it. But I went to university just to kind of enjoy that, you know, that experience. Guess who I'm coaching these days? PhDs.
Oh,
People with doctorates.
yeah.
I'm helping one right now. And there's a reason why. Once you've handled a lot of money, people realize that you understand the pressure of handling a lot of money, and the responsibility and the show up. So, you know, if you got a couple other questions, fire away. Otherwise,
Well, I have a question in regards to referrals. A lot of people do referral programs. I like to just you know, if a customer refers another potential customer to me, I always like to give them a little gift of, you know, if it's $50 or $100 or something like that as a thank you. Nowadays, I don't know where the new norm is going to be for this. If it's going to be the same, or is it going to change? Or I've been trying to wrap my head around that.
well, I'll help you a little bit. The larger the deal, the less you should do that.
Okay.
Think about it. Walmart Canada. I'm not saying that any of us are going to end up working with Walmart. I happen to work with Walmart for, I don't know, a decade or so. But if you walk in there with a gift, they'd show you the door. You can't even buy somebody lunch there.
Right.
So it depends on the organization, and it's because the whole idea of buying now, we're trying to, you know, as a seller, I'm trying to influence buyer belief.
Right.
Some professional buyers these days are trying to neutralize that whole discussion, so that it becomes a discussion around what's the best price I can get. And you know, John, back home in China, they always talk about squeezing the water out of the deal before you actually talk about, you know, what things are worth. You know, you think about people who using tactics like red face or tough face, standing up and saying, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. My family deserves a much better deal. You know, it's so important to understand, you know, how things work in a sales vertical, how it works in a culture, and be close to that. Act like an insider. Act like you understand, and not just act. Be that. Be that person. Be so authentic that you say, I really feel for what you feel for.
So Patrick, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more in terms of that trade, that strategy or trick. What you say, rinse the water or something?
Yeah, squeezing the water.
I don't get it.
Okay, all right. So, there's
if time permits, right? I don't know how.
Yeah, no,
We're good.
it's okay. Most strategy that is used in negotiation right now in Korea, Japan, and I would say China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan is all based on a book called The Art of War. That was, yeah, so you know, Sun Tzu wrote that about 1,200 years ago. So in China, they use 3 different philosophies to build a strategy, and half the time the strategy is half tactics and it's half strategy. It's Maoism, it's Taoism, and it's Confucianism mixed together. And then it's also, you know, family strength, money, influence. And so part of it is the stronger the family, the more they say, I don't want to hear about how much it costs. I want to hear about how much it costs to build. And then we'll talk about a deal. Unless there is scarcity. Where scarcity happens, then the seller becomes the person with all the leverage. Does that sound familiar?
Maybe I'm I'm away from there for a while, but I'm not really getting like how that strategy works, because maybe my personal experience is slightly different.
Well, you know what has happened, and the reality is that since the introduction of the internet, I mean, cross-cultural currents are happening quite strongly right now. So the business language in China is English. Everybody's trying to understand how to do more business with everybody else in the world. Now, if you're a really successful Chinese business person, and you have so I'm thinking of Alibaba. Alibaba doesn't need the rest of the world. Jack Ma figured out how to make the Amazon of China. That's it. So
what you say is you say Alibaba does not really need the word, or it's other way, or does need?
Well, as it stands right now, and ladies, just Alibaba is like the Amazon of China right now, and there's another company like that in India, and it's called Flipkart, and Walmart just bought a big piece of Flipkart. And sorry?
I said interesting.
Yeah, you know, this whole online selling process, you know, even though it only takes up about sort of 5 to maybe 7-8% of all products that are sold, that 5 to 8% is meaningful, because that could be where your profit is. And culturally, I think there's a lot of cultures that try to commoditize everything right from the beginning. So for instance, in China, you can't get in there and do business unless you do a joint venture. That's the way it is.
That's That's like maybe 20 years ago, though. Yeah.
It's changing, but it's the exchange of intellectual.
And that only applies to certain industry.
That's
Because
right.
because I used to, when I was in China, I used to work for a company called AIG.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's an American company,
Financial company. Yeah.
and in
How's
Just
that
gonna,
about?
that's why
just gonna step
that's
away
why I
for
know.
a second to get the courier.
Yeah, no problem. That's why I know, because I know very clearly at that time in the insurance industry, right?
Right.
They only allow the foreign investment to be the joint venture with a Chinese company. Otherwise, they cannot operate there. But the only exception is AIG.
Yeah. Well, and look at Manulife right now trying to go into China. It's not a Canadian company, and they're
Manulife, they had a joint venture already, right? Like
yeah.
that's I think they had a joint venture maybe like 15
But-
years ago.
But the thing is, it's hard. So for instance, as an author, it takes 4 years to get a book into China. It takes 4 years to pass through all the bureaucracy. And so if you want to speed things up, then you might speed it up by doing joint ventures. It's the same as when what's the name of the coffee company that went in there? Starbucks. But Starbucks went in and introduced
But
themselves.
that's kind of strange to me, though. Like when you say the book took like 4 years,
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right to me, because when I saw some of the books, they are like they're pretty much launched the Chinese version in China at the same time. Maybe
You know what? I think it depends on what the content is.
right. I don't know about
So,
like your content should be perfectly fine. It's talking about sales strategy, those kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's actually it's actually a very hot demand kind of content in China, right?
Oh, I know. I'm selling books there now.
Yeah.
From a distribution point of view, when I talk to my distributor, he just said,
Mhm.
"Listen, Pat, it has to go through the bureaucracy. They have to take time to absorb it and understand it. And once they absorb it, understand it, then it moves faster. It's not like selling steel. Steel is steel."
Maybe they just want to charge you more money for that.
So anyway, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up if that's okay, Sherry, and just
Yes, it is time to wrap it up. Yes, and if anyone wants to contact Patrick directly, I can certainly email you his website address so you can connect in and with Patrick.
Yeah.
If you got a question afterwards, fine. And if you happen to read Perpetual Hunger, I hope my book makes your family money, because that's all that really matters.
I want to buy that book. Tell me, is that on the Amazon or?
Yeah, it's on Amazon worldwide. Like my other book, Unlocking Yes, the revised edition. It's in chapters.
All right.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kathy,
I will definitely go buy it.
To share. So. Yeah, so anyways, thank you, Patrick, for joining us. I know I certainly learned a lot again, and thank you about that little tidbit for the referrals. I'll be able to wrap my head around that a little bit better now and what to do. And
an important thing to remember about referrals. When the referrals are gold, when the person says to you, "Kathy, you don't have to call me and ask me for the referral. I want you to assume it's there." That's when you've hit the gold standard. And I've got a whole bunch of customers like that. Now, the other thing is, if you're not up on LinkedIn, please go up on LinkedIn and at least start a profile and then ask for recommendations and referrals.
yes.
Because that gets you started. And if you've got a website, anytime anybody says something to you positive about your product, you say, "Can I use that as a referral on my website?" And then you just write out like a 2-sentence line with the person's name and the name of their business. and it goes up on your website, and you just keep adding those things. Really important, because I'll tell you why. Here's a funny thing, and get people holding projects you've done or some of your product, take pictures of them and put it up on your website. Here's why. When you see somebody else holding your product, it de-risks their ability to buy your product. They feel less blockage because they see somebody else holding your product with somebody who isn't in your business, and all of a sudden they go, wow, it's good enough for them, it might be good enough for me. So everybody have a great day.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. I really appreciate it. And I'll be in touch with you here anyways. I have a few more things I want to talk to you about on the personal side, and hopefully get you to help me out a little bit. So.
Okay. Good luck to everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Bye now.
And I'll have everything uploaded on the website by 3 o'clock today for everyone to download. Okay.
There you go.
All right, thanks. Oh,
Thank
by the way,
you.
Patrick, I
Yes.
just sent you a LinkedIn request. Hopefully you will accept it. Now we can
Absolutely.
get connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before we leave, I just want to know if you guys are interested to do me a quick favor, because I recently launched I'm revamping my website for the security and business transformation offerings, and I want to know a little bit more insight from, because I know you guys are more in the sales marketing side. Maybe you can give me a little bit hint if that is something what I mean is maybe I can send you a link with my new website,
I'll go up on your
and
website,
let you tell tell me your
Send me a link
opinion.
and I'll give you a sort of a
Evaluation.
an evaluation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take care, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy weekend.
Bye now.
As you too.
You too.